Well, welcome. We're so glad to have you come talk to us about your
Now, I just
books, because you're going to be writing memoirs. So,
yes.
and tell us a little bit about yourself and your story and your writing journey.
Well, first off, you'll see my glasses.
Yeah.
The lighting in my office is just kind of weird. So if you see me doing this,
No problem. If everybody can just mute yourself, I think that'll help. Thanks,
now
everyone.
I'm planning on showing a few pictures. And so if there's a little delay in getting this and that, I'm sure you guys can understand. But I want to first ask you guys, as I'm sure we've all gone through trials, and I bet we all have something that we could write about. Well, I had one. But do you mind if I ask first? Kind of raise your hands if you know anything what my story is about, if you might have looked it up at all. Because if you don't, that just kind of helps. Yeah, you do. Well, a trial I went through when I was 19 years old, I could not help but wish that I could have read a book that someone else went through that trial. When I was 18, thankfully, the Lord had mercy on me and I became one of his children. I tell you, I was 18 and I couldn't wait to go through life with him. But then I kind of thought, as all 18 and 19-year-olds are, oh, I'm mature. I can do anything. Well, after high school, I was saved that summer. Amen. That next springtime, school started and I did a couple quarters at a community college. But then I just kind of felt a little emptiness. I just thought, I have a relative in California. She invited me to visit her for a while just to kind of see what I wanted to do. And so I did. I thought, me, God, my Bible, that's all I need. So I stayed with her. Now I'm just going to tell you a little bit of this because this is how my book started. Okay. Anyway, I go and visit. And as a Christian, and I was ready, stayed with my sister, but then I kind of started not sticking to the Lord as much as I should have. Got a great job, but met a certain person, a man, living with his parents. We just clicked. He said the right words. Well, let me just say that I messed up. And I felt guilt for losing my virginity. Oh, it was so tough. The guilt was there. I pleaded for forgiveness. And I thankfully know that the Lord forgave me, but I still couldn't stay there. So it was just a few weeks later, I came back home. I felt, okay, history is behind me. Nobody knows what happened except the Lord and one other person. And I come back home. I'm going to go back to schooling. I'm going to go back to my solid church I was part of. But then a few days later, I was late with my period. A whole soap opera was beginning for my life. And behind the scene, I did not want to tell anyone. I felt God forgave me, but how could I be pregnant? I go and get a test. Now, I could be telling you so much more. But then I'd have to make sure you guys all had some popcorn and you'd be sitting back and I could just talk for my 45 minutes telling you what that whole thing is about. But all I will say is I messed up, but God held me through that entire trial and he placed me in the perfect spot at the right time. So that's what my memoir is about. Okay. But I will give you a little temptation to read because there was the fact that love at first sight does come true. Okay. But years later, okay, after years went by after, I will say, I had my baby. But then different things were happening. Family got bigger. And people kept telling me, Marianne, you should share your story with others. It's obvious that the Lord has carried you through this amazing trial, and you need to write a book. I'm now going to share you a photo of what I did. I laughed my head off. You think I could write a book about my story of my unplanned pregnancy? Okay. I'm not an author. I don't know what to do with that. Come on. Plus, as a few more years went by, as more reality was hitting me, I then became the mom of 4 children. We have a family of 6. Okay. And people are thinking I should write a book. Sure, I did like writing in high school. This was years later. Now, I can't help but say that there was a certain one that came to mind a couple years later. What's this name here? My Pillow, right? Well, I'll explain that in 2 seconds. First, there I am, my family. And then when my youngest, that cute little adorable baby, when he was about 12 or so, too many people were telling me, you need to write a story. And I started thinking, listen, again, I have a family. I can't do this. Let's see here. But things started changing. There was, let's see here. There's 2 reasons why I changed my mind. For one, my story isn't your typical, oh, someone accidentally gets pregnant and then so-and-so did. It's not your typical story. There was something that took place that, hold on, let me cancel this. Let me go back to, there we go. As those years went by, I kind of started realizing that, yes, my story isn't your normal story, okay? There is something in there that stands out that could make a book. I like to say it's the major soap opera of my story that I kind of felt, well, maybe it could be a book, but I don't know how to write. But then someone was telling me, said, Marianne, or I met this new friend through this email. Remember years ago, they didn't have the internet. You just had to email all your letters to friends. I met this new friend. She was great. She's a Christian, and I felt I wanted to share with her my story of my kids and my husband. But I thought, well, I'm going to write her a little bit each morning. I'm just going to tell a little bit of my story. So I emailed her a little bit. The next day I'd email her a little bit more, then a little bit more. For about 2 weeks later, she said, Marianne, do you mind, I'm reading this, do you mind if I copy this email, 3 different ones, because I know 3 people that should read your story? Oh, sure. So I started kind of putting a little more work into those daily little things I was writing. And I was enjoying it. And after another week or so went by, I remember being on my chair and I looked up. Okay, Lord, there's too many people have been telling me I should write this story. And now this, I think you're telling me I should write a book. And that was the starting point. It wasn't just a quick couple months writing. Let's just say it was about 5 to 6 years later, I had my rough draft ready. But when I came to the end, I thought, oh my word, now what? And I bet we all can understand what that felt like. Okay, I'm now done. Now what? I didn't really do much studying on what you do to get a book done. So I better start. So I'm on the internet all the time. Da, 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 da. And thankfully, God started opening up one thing after the other, encouraging me with my book. But as I'm writing, what should I call it? Well, what did my other picture show you? What did it say? My pillow? Because I thought of the word my pillow, because for those months during my pregnancy, who knew all my thoughts? In bed as I'm crying, in bed as I'm pondering, what am I going to do? My pillow was soaking up all my thoughts. And my pillow. But then it dawned on me, who carried me through that entire trial? Who knew all of my thoughts? Well, what's the name of my book? God and My Pillow, right? Well, oops, there we go. Okay, My Pillow. But here it turned into God and My Pillow, right? Well, something happened though. When I started to write my book, and then let's see here, I'm just looking at my notes. Get through all my book. It is ready, and I'm about to find someone through this website where I joined this other organization. It is called the Northwest Christian Writers Organization. Right when I had finished my rough draft, now what do? The Lord opened up this Christian Writers Organization. And I looked them up. They meet monthly. I thought I was, oh my word, right when I'm close to being done with my book, I have connections on now what do? The website, as I look on the website, 3 months later was a yearly convention they do. 3 months from now? Amen. That convention is going on this very weekend, by the way. But so that was, God kept opening the doors to me. Now, I do want to say, my husband, right before this all came to be, he finally read my book. He knew I was reading it. He knew I was writing it. And I was going, okay, honey, I'm almost done. Or actually, I am done, and I actually have an editor now, and he knew all this. But I gave him my book to read, and I kind of left him alone for a few hours, and I can still picture him on the kitchen couch. On the living room couch reading. I walked by to go to the kitchen, and he looked at me. And he looked at the book. He had read a few chapters. And he looked at me again, and he said, "You wrote this?" He said, "I am amazed how well your writing is." Well, that, of course, encouraged me big time. Well, time goes by, we get it made, but then it's like, okay, now what? I had decided, Lord willing, he guided me to self-publish. Okay. It was really hard to decide, but I said, okay, Lord, you've helped me. You need to now guide me. So his hand was encouraging me to self-publish. Okay. Right before it was ready, I had talked to someone that encouraged me. He was kind of one of those up there authors. And I got free 30-minute talk with him. And he encouraged me to do one thing. And I thought, I better take his advice. This was my advice. Can anyone guess what his advice was? What's the title? God in Your Pillow. Ooh, I then changed the title to God in Your Pillow. I trusted this man, but there was still something inside of me that, but I was ignorant. I wasn't an author, so I followed his advice. So it was great. I was so energetic. Things were going fine with getting the book out, and I was actually on Amazon, and I just felt so encouraged. It was great. It felt so good. Let's see here. Oh, as I learned things weren't so quick to sell as I thought they'd be, I still hung in there. Self-publishing, of course, you have a lot of stuff you got to do. Even with a publisher, the publishers still expect us to do a lot nowadays. Well, as I'm learning, I was connected to this one source with a marketer. And I thought, again, God's timing was great. And so I splurged and I was paying a marketer. I learned so much about the website that I have. I learned so much about marketing, about doing this and that. And so I'm really glad I did it. Really did work on my website. But here, and I'll even show you. I don't know if any of you have looked under my website to look for what my website, oh, too quick, my website. Okay, I loved it. But look at my website and the name of my book now. See the difference? Okay. I was immensely encouraged after my book was out for a while that I should change the title and go back to God and My Pillow. A few too many people were telling me that all around the same time, and I'm going, thank you, Lord. I feel encouraged to go what I should have originally called it. However, I did also learn that if you change the title, I didn't change much inside, just a few things here and there. I then had to start over again. My book had been out about a year and a half when I changed my title. So it kind of had to go back to square one. But the peace I have with the title, I'm so much in more. I'm thankful I did it. But again, I learned as I went along the consequences. So I have a new title. And you saw my website. But I still felt an emptiness. I realized it still wasn't selling as I had hoped. But then I also learned it's so common for a majority of those books that are out there. If you're trusting Amazon and if you're trusting this and that, it just, you're not going to turn into the million book seller. Okay. And I sensed that maybe I was leaning a little too much on that. But no, I wanted to help those that went through an unplanned pregnancy. It was still on my back burner. That is my goal, to encourage those with my story. But still, I'm sure if those of you who have a book out, if it's just not, the Lord's teaching me every month, every year. It's now been about 2.5 years since my original book's been out. It's about a little over a year that the new title has been out. Now, I want to share with you a few things that I also was energetic to do. Once I got my new title, I started making some videos of my book. Okay. My main job that I do, I work at home and I put videos together. Okay. So of videos of a speaker and with music and pictures and videos. And I thought, I want to do that for myself. Okay. So I'm going to show one of these to you, if you don't mind. Because listen, if you can do it, I've been hearing that, I've been learning this last year quite a bit more, that the more videos you can show of your work, it might attract more people. So right now, I'm in the midst of making these things and making more of the effort to show them. But let me show you one of them. Share screen. Now, I think it is the desktop. I'm going to click. Okay. And I'm going to pop up.
I think for us to hear the audio, you have to go up to view and
Okay.
hit share computer audio. Yeah. View options at the top. Do you see it?
View options. I see more control.
Yeah. It may not let you because I'm the host.
Oh, okay.
So we may not be able to hear the audio.
I'm going to hear it myself. It's just going to be like me talking, perhaps. Let's see. Okay. Good. Okay. Here is a video I put together that kind of explains my story. It's just maybe not even 2 minutes long. Okay. So. Okay. Now, I also did a few things with quotes from my book. Okay, here's one. Okay, can you guys see that okay? Okay. I love doing things with videos. So I use these as a good excuse to just show what I do. Here's one more quote. Okay. So I went, let's see here. There we go. So I really have been encouraged to use other talents you have to get your book out, if it works. Now, I could go into more things that I've done lately, but one thing that really changed kind of the way I'm feeling about getting my book out, because again, I'm focusing on those that have gone through unplanned pregnancies and for those going through kind of any trial, to let you know that if you include God in your trial, he can carry you like he carried me through mine. Okay. He went out of his way. But it just wasn't clicking. And I was encouraged to say, listen, my story is kind of for some younger people. Sure, I'm in my mid-50s now, when my story is to encourage those maybe in their early to mid-20s or younger. And I kept being encouraged to try Instagram. There was this one group that I got to be part of, and the name was the Hope Writers. Found them on Facebook. I said, hey, I'm willing to pay. I, put some money into learning more. And it introduced me to Instagram. And I'm sure some of you are like me. It's like, ew, it means I have to learn about it and get into it. And I said, okay, I got to discipline myself and go for it. And so I got into it and I started learning how it works. And I learned that you have to be patient, work at learning how things work. Okay, so I'm learning as weeks and weeks go by about Instagram, and I started liking it, and I started learning how it works. And now, as I'm at the same time, God's and I give God credit. He's going, Marianne, here, I'm going to kick you a little bit to gear towards another organization. Yes, unplanned pregnancies, keep it up, but also for pro-life. And I started following pro-lifers, and I started, while other book, organizations too, things started opening up. I started connecting with some pro-life organizations. And I've been praying, okay, Lord, help me. No, don't focus on my book. I want to focus on my story. Share my story. Don't just share my book. Okay. See the difference? It kind of clicked. And once I kind of realized that, then I started meeting some pro-life organizations. And then a few stood out. One's called Great Life Teens and Students for Life. And I really thought, wow. Yes, there's some adults behind these, but a lot of them are just college students. And I thought, okay, I got to kind of not lower myself, but let's go a little younger. And now they want to share my stories. They've been interviews with them. They've added me on their newsletters. They've had me do a few podcasting. Others want me to be part of their Zoom meeting. Anyway, I'm just like, amen. Okay. Now I'm still concentrating on reaching out to, sure, you want to buy my book? But since I'm kind of concentrating on this different route. And I'm Instagram. I so am enjoying Instagram now, connecting more of my things with them. I've been doing more videos. It's actually encouraged me to read little bits of my book now. So I've been videoing myself in my office here of reading just a few paragraphs of my book, just a few minutes long. My whole 3 minutes at the most of talking and sharing, reading a little bit. So, because I've learned that it really can help people connect with you if they want to maybe learn a little more about your book first. So that's my reason for doing that. Maybe if they see me read, then they may want to buy, So that's where I'm at now. And I'm very thankful God is giving me peace at where I'm at. Once I got off focusing on selling my book, I'm still trying, but I just feel he's blessed me a little bit more, connecting with people like you guys. And here's my book, got in my pillow. And you can see I have a happy face. So I have a happy face theme because God carried me through this immense trial, had me raise now a family. All my children are now out. I'm even a grandmom 5 times. Okay. I thank God for him carrying me through this trial. And as taking what people suggested, Marian, you need to write your story. You need to let people know how he carried you. And my company, I kind of gave myself a business, Marianne's Memoirs. And if you notice, I said memoirs, plural. I have been greatly encouraged to write another memoir to show another trial I went through. I haven't started because I'm just getting a feel, learn from experience with this one before I start another one. And man, I've learned. It's a memoir of a brain illness that I endured 30 years ago. And it would reach a totally different field of people. So that's why it's Marianne's Memoirs, plural. And my website, I actually have a couple different blog sections in there. One that shares my story, my book. I kind of have written down through what happened. And I have another one about my illness I had, sharing how it was being in the hospital for a month, how it was forgetting the name of whom I have children. What are babies? Okay. I had a mental disability. Anyway, look on my blogs. So anyway, Lord willing, if there's another book out, that's what that's going to be about. So I guess I want to say God knows what he's doing. He's carried me through these trials, and I want to encourage others with my memoir.
That's great. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Marianne? I know I have one.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. So You mentioned that you've been able to reach out to these groups because of your story, the significant topic of it. Do you find that the topic is more, are these high school students, these college students, age people more receptive to it now? Because I mean, with the internet and everything, they're hearing all these stories, they're doing the research themselves. And I think that has a big part as to why the abortion rate is falling. So do you find that they're receptive of it?
Well, I don't want to blame the internet for everything, but you know how it has opened up so much more because you can read about it anywhere, you know. When I went through it, you didn't have that. So I didn't really know all the details about abortion. And now people are learning about it now.
Yeah,
So I think it's a big difference now.
yeah,
Why people are just learning more.
I think
And
so.
one reason that I am kind of digging into the pro-life is because I came close to getting an abortion. I easily could have, but my story explains how the first phone call I made, no one answered to Planned Parenthood. The second one I called where I should go get a test was a crisis pregnancy center.
Mm.
So I really think it's different now than it was back then.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm strive to go to pro-life, because there are still a lot of people encouraging abortion.
Yeah.
And I just pray that my story, that's what kind of really dug me into aim to pro-life, to encourage those that are pro-life, and perhaps those that are talking, or maybe they're going to be now talking with me,
Yeah.
or looking at my blog, watching me read this part of my book. It might click with a pro-choicer. Who knows? God knows.
Yeah. That's great. I'm so glad you're doing that. That's a great use for your story.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I feel for it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any of your books at a place like a crisis pregnancy center or a center for teens or anything like that?
At the very beginning, when I was almost ready to sell, I did connect with some of these sources in my area and gave them my book for them to kind of read through it. And actually, I got a few ideas. But no, I haven't as of lately. Well, there is an organization that I have been a part of. And it seriously, just this last month, I want to reach out to them more. When you're self-publishing, even when you have a publisher, okay, there's so much to do. And I just don't have the time to do everything. Sure, I could put some money into having others do things like this for me, but I just haven't. So I hear you. I really wish I have done more, but now I'm willing to put more time into that.
Yeah, maybe just drop them off, give them a few copies for free.
Yes. And there's this organization, and amen. That's what I want to do.
Awesome.
Exactly. But I remember when I was going through that, it's like, oh. So yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
One more question, Gina, is your guest.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much do you charge for your book?
Well, right now on Amazon, because of this whole COVID thing, about a year ago, I lowered the price on Amazon for about $8. But I also have it so you can PDF it, or, through Amazon. I have that free. I'm sure it'd be nice if I could ask more and get more money, but right now, so it's $8 on Amazon.
That's a good price.
It really is.
So when you decided to do memoirs, because I know you have more coming, and rather than just an autobiographical, what made you focus on just doing memoirs, just like chunks of your life, rather than a full autobiography?
I haven't really given that much thought of doing the whole thing. Yeah. Now, when I was writing this book, all my kids were still at home, homeschooling, blah, 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 Now they're all gone. But I do have another job. I do video designing for some companies. And so I don't have as much free time as I wish I had. If I did, then I could pursue doing writing like that. So.
Great. Any other questions about memoir writing or? Now, you had a critique group help you out, you said.
Yes.
How did that work for you?
This organization that I'm part of, Northwest Christian Writers Association, it was just the first year I was with them. I joined one of these groups, but I didn't really use it with my book because my book was pretty much done.
Sure.
Patience isn't a virtue for me sometimes. I couldn't go through my whole book with this organization, but they helped me set up my blogs.
Oh, okay.
They really did. So I would bring my blog every couple weeks we got together. So that
Nice.
helped me learn about that.
Now, I have a friend who eventually she wants to write a memoir about the time of her life when her daughter was diagnosed with cancer, went through treatment, and then passed away. So she reached out to me, and about 4 years ago, we got together to brainstorm it, and then she put it aside and realized it was just too painful. So did you find that, and I've talked to other people who have done memoirs too, who admitted this, that going back and revisiting such pain, was that therapeutic for you, or did it kind of set you back a bit?
It encouraged me. I think because it was quite a few years later. Let's see, like 20 years, basically. I was thanking God so long for all that went on since then. It was encouraging to me to look back, just because I saw how God carried me.
Yeah, you
So
saw the,
it wasn't hard for me to write at all.
yeah.
There was a season here and there I just didn't have time. But when I'd get back into it, any free time I savored getting my notebook and a pen.
Yeah.
It just
I think what helps is if any of you are out there thinking about writing a memoir about a specifically painful period of your life and you're thinking, I don't want to go back there and revisit these pains and like exhume these, these dead bodies I buried. What you can do though is like Marianne did, and some of the other authors I've spoken to, is settle on that theme, on that person you want to help. Who is going to read this and get help from my story, and kind of just focusing on them can kind of get you through. Now, your children are reading about mom, and her bad mistakes. I mean, how did you handle that? We like to come across as, oh no, we were perfect. Mom's perfect.
it was, as I'm having more children, it was this part of life of where God had me. They only kind of when the younger ones, as they're growing up, they're just hearing me share my story with other people. And occasionally I get into more deep depth with them. I'll just say my two sons, who are now 23 and 26, they haven't really read my book, but they're just not book readers.
Yeah.
This is life.
Yeah.
Where my daughters, my oldest, when she read it, she wrote it, she read it. It wasn't officially done. I got my daughter because it's about her. She said she was crying in the plane when she was flying somewhere.
Aww.
She loved it. And then about a year later, my other daughter, who's now a mother of 4, she read it and she just couldn't stop talking to me.
Aww.
They loved it.
That's beautiful. And I advise any of you, if you are going to write a story about your life and you just happen to mention your family in it, you might want to sit them down first and let them know, hey, I'm going to be writing about this. You're going to be mentioned, just so you know, and let them know and be prepared, rather than like some people who just write it and then release it, and then the family members are like, hey, what's going on here?
They knew, oh, mom's just writing her book some more. She's on the computer, over and over again. And I remember from day one, okay, when I started writing this, I said, okay, Marianne, your kids are older. They don't need you 24/7. Don't put God first. Your husband's next. Your family and the laundry is next. Then the video stuff that I was doing. After that, though, Marianne, the book. So I made sure I didn't let it take over my family. And so, but they knew, oh, mom's working on her book again,
Yeah.
So, yeah, they knew pretty much what was going on, but.
That's great. Good for you. Okay. Any other questions about writing a memoir or for our guest speaker? No?
You learn as you
Alright.
go, my goodness.
That's right. Well, thank you. We are just so appreciative that you took the time out of your busy day to share some thoughts, share your story with us. And
Thank you for asking. I really love
sure, we look forward to the next memoir that you're going to release in all your endeavors. And find Marianne Peterson on Instagram so you can look at her videos. They're wonderful. I've been following her for a few months now.
There'll be more.
And yep, and we'll
More
be able to
y'all
keep
have.
up with what you're doing. Yeah, that's going to be great. Great idea. Good ideas for us indie authors out there trying to market our stuff. Great ideas. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks, Marianne.
Thank you.
And I hope that you all have the rest of the weekend is wonderful for you. And we don't have as beautiful weather as you do, Marianne, but we're going to do our best to stay cool.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm going to go out and maybe pull a few more weeds.
Oh, nice. All right. Thanks, everyone. And I will see you all again
Bye-bye.
in September. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, and Leola, I'll send you the meeting information stuff. Bye, everyone.